Welcome back to our channel World of Coins, the place where we uncover hidden treasures in your coin collection. Have you ever wondered if that old coins could be worth thousands or even millions? Well, today's your lucky day. We're diving into some of the rarest and most valuable US coins that might be sitting right under your nose. Let's jump in and see if you've got a fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 1. What if the coin you thought was just a shiny piece of pocket change turned out to be a hidden relic, one that holds not just the image of a legendary president, but also a six-figure secret? Today, we're about to take you on an unforgettable journey into the story of one of the most fascinating and celebrated coins in American numismatic history. It's the United States of America Kennedy half-dollar marked with the historic dual date 1776 to 1976, a coin minted in honor of America's bicentennial celebration. But here's the twist: while millions of these coins were struck, a select few are so rare, so extraordinary, and so well preserved that their value defies belief. And one of them, as we'll reveal, has been valued at a staggering amount that could leave you breathless. The Kennedy half-dollar is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of honor, legacy, and national pride. First introduced in 1964 following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, this half-dollar has remained one of the most collected and recognized coins in the United States. But in 1976, something special happened. As the country prepared to celebrate its 200th birthday, the U.S. Mint released a limited edition of commemorative coins with redesigned reverses and a unique dual date, 1776 to 1976, to mark the occasion. Among these was the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar. Unlike earlier and later versions, the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar features a completely different reverse design. Instead of the traditional presidential seal, the coin's back proudly displays Independence Hall, the iconic building in Philadelphia where both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were debated and adopted. This design, created by Seth G. Huntington, is not only artistically stunning but deeply meaningful, honoring the birthplace of American democracy during the nation's 200th anniversary. Now, while these bicentennial half-dollars were produced in massive quantities at three major mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is rarity, condition, and uniqueness. Most of these coins were intended for circulation and show signs of wear. But others were minted in special collector sets, using high-quality proof techniques or struck in 40% silver rather than the usual copper-nickel blend. These special versions shine with brilliance and are often the ones that become valuable collector items, but the most astonishing value emerges when a coin combines multiple rare attributes, such as a flawless mint state, a silver composition, and a rare mint error. Imagine finding a 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar that was struck on the wrong planchet, or with a doubled die, or even with a misaligned strike. Errors like these are the crown jewels of coin collecting. They escape the mint's strict quality control and end up becoming legendary among numismatists. Add to that a pristine condition, professionally graded as MS 67 or higher, and you've got a once-in-a-generation coin, and it's not just theory. These rare bicentennial half-dollars have been found. Collectors have scoured estates, auctions, and old coin rolls, unearthing coins that were hidden away for decades. Some were passed down through families, while others sat untouched in mint packaging, protected from the wear of circulation. When they finally came into the light, their beauty and rarity stunned the world, and so did their value. Now let's talk about one specific coin, a Kennedy half-dollar dated 1776 to 1976 that defied all expectations. It was struck in 40% silver, showed no signs of handling, and had an incredibly rare mint error that set it apart from any other coin minted during the bicentennial era. Certified and graded by a top-tier professional coin grading service, it was deemed to be among the best preserved examples ever discovered. It combined historic significance, rarity, and impeccable condition into one stunning piece of American numismatic history, and when it finally came to auction, the response was electric. Collectors from around the globe recognized its uniqueness. The bidding was fierce. The excitement was real. And when the hammer finally fell, this single Kennedy half-dollar from the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial series was valued at a mind-blowing $170,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, 170,000 US dollars. For a 50-cent coin. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Hidden treasures are all around us, sometimes in dusty drawers, old jars, or forgotten collections. What looks ordinary might be something extraordinary. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is not just a token of America's bicentennial. For one lucky collector, it was the ticket to an incredible payday. So, the next time you spot a Kennedy half-dollar, take a moment to inspect it closely. Look for that dual date, 1776 to 1976. Check for silver shine, for flawless details, and for anything that looks slightly unusual. Because who knows? You might be holding a piece of American history, and maybe, just maybe, a fortune worth $170,000. Top 2. What if I told you that a coin minted in 1981, one you might think is just another common half-dollar, could actually be worth a small fortune? Yes, it's true. Hidden in the pockets of time and scattered among collections, coin jars, and forgotten mint sets, there exists a rare gem that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts alike. Today, we're diving into the story of the United States of America Kennedy half-dollar from the year 1981. A coin that, to most, might look ordinary, but for a few fortunate collectors, has revealed itself to be an incredible treasure worth far more than its humble 50-cent face value. To understand why the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar holds such significance, we need to step back and appreciate its origins. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was a symbol of national mourning and unity, and it quickly became one of the most admired and collected coins in U.S. history. Every year since, the Kennedy half-dollar has been struck by the U.S. Mint, but certain years have stood out from the rest. One of those years is 1981. What makes the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar particularly interesting is that it was never released for general circulation. That's right, no Kennedy half-dollars were put into circulation that year. Instead, they were produced exclusively for inclusion in official U.S. Mint sets. These sets were sold to collectors and never made their way into everyday transactions. As a result, many people never even saw a 1981 Kennedy half-dollar in their change. And because these coins were only available to collectors, they've always been relatively scarce in comparison to other years, but scarcity alone doesn't tell the full story. What really drives the value of the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar is a combination of rarity, condition, and, most importantly, unique minting errors. The U.S. Mint, while known for its precision, is not immune to mistakes. Occasionally, a coin may be struck on the wrong planchet, struck off-center, or show signs of doubling, misalignment, or other unusual features. These errors turn an already limited coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. For the trained eyes of seasoned numismatists, these are the coins that spark excitement and trigger bidding wars. Now imagine this. You stumble upon a 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, not in a collector set, but loose, perhaps handed down from a family member or purchased years ago and long forgotten. It catches your eye because of its unusual luster, an odd surface detail, or a tiny irregularity that most people wouldn't notice. You decide to have it appraised by a professional coin grading service, such as PCGS or NGC. And the results come back. Not only is it a mint state coin with flawless surfaces, but it also has a rare double die obverse and was struck on a transitional planchet. Suddenly, that little half-dollar in your hand becomes the center of a numismatic spotlight. Collectors around the world dream of these finds. The coin collecting world is built on stories just like this, of ordinary people discovering extraordinary treasures. The 1981 Kennedy half-dollar has been known to show up in ultra-high grades such as MS-67 or even MS-68, and in some extremely rare cases, as proofs with cameo or deep cameo finishes that look like mirrors under the light. These ultra-high-quality examples, especially when paired with a rare error, are the ones that command the most attention, and attention they've received. There have been coins from 1981 that made their way into major auctions, catching the eye of high-profile collectors and investors who understand their true worth. When these coins go up for sale, they don't stay available for long. The competition is fierce, and the prices they command are nothing short of jaw-dropping. So what is one of these rare, high-grade, error-laden 1981 Kennedy half dollars actually worth? It's not just a guess, it's a figure backed by auction results and collector demand. One such coin, combining near-perfect preservation, historical significance, and an incredibly rare minting error, was appraised and sold for an astonishing $120,000. Yes, you heard that right, $120,000 for a Kennedy half dollar from 1981. It's hard to imagine that something so small, so easily overlooked, could carry such a hefty value. But that's the magic of coin collecting. These aren't just pieces of metal, they are time capsules, pieces of history, and in the rarest cases, they're life-changing finds. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar proves that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones you least expect. So if you're holding on to a Kennedy half dollar from 1981, whether in a mint set, a display case, or the back of a drawer, take a closer look. Check for unusual features. Preserve its condition. You just might be looking at one of the rarest coins of its time, a hidden treasure that could be worth $120,000. Top 3. Have you ever held a coin and wondered what secrets it might be keeping? Could it be rare? Could it be special? Could it be worth a fortune? Most of us walk past pocket change without a second glance, but every now and then, a small piece of metal can hold a story so powerful and value so surprising that it can change everything. Today, we're going to dive deep into the story of the United States of America Kennedy half dollar from the year 1983, one of the most overlooked coins that could quietly be one of the most valuable pieces in your collection. The Kennedy half dollar is no stranger to history. First minted in 1964, just months after the heartbreaking assassination of President John F. Kennedy, this coin was meant to be more than currency. It was created as a symbol of a nation mourning and uniting. The design has remained a tribute to Kennedy's enduring legacy, and over the decades, the coin has become one of the most collected pieces of American coinage. But what about the 1983 Kennedy half dollar? At first glance, it may seem like just another coin struck for everyday use. But look closer, and you'll discover that the 1983 edition holds a surprising place in numismatic history. This was a year when no mint sets were released by the United States Mint. That's right, unlike most other years, the U.S. Mint did not issue regular uncirculated coin sets in 1983, which means that the only way people could get a 1983 Kennedy half dollar was from circulation. And coins from circulation are subject to wear, scratches, and damage, making high-quality examples extremely difficult to find. So what does that mean? It means that uncirculated or mint condition 1983 Kennedy half dollars are significantly rarer than most collectors realize. The majority of the coins from this year were handled, used, exchanged, and spent, leaving only a small number surviving in pristine condition. That alone makes this year highly desirable for collectors who crave rarity and perfection, but condition isn't the only factor. Sometimes, the most valuable coins come from unexpected surprises, mint errors. In the world of coin collecting, errors are golden. They can include off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, or even issues with the coin's lettering or alignment. These errors are not intentional, they're the result of mechanical missteps at the mint, and because they're so rare, they often send collectors into bidding frenzies. Imagine discovering a 1983 Kennedy half dollar with an incredible mint error. Perhaps it was struck on a nickel planchet, or it features a double-struck design, or it bears a dramatic die clash. Now, combine that with near-perfect preservation, flawless surfaces, radiant luster, sharp edges. When a coin like that gets professionally graded by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC, it can receive one of the highest ratings in the scale, MS 67, MS 68, or even MS 69. These are not just coins, they are numismatic masterpieces, and here's where things get even more exciting. Because of the limited availability of high-grade 1983 Kennedy half dollars, collectors across the country, and even internationally, compete to own one. Auction houses have seen intense battles for these coins, especially when they're paired with eye-popping errors or immaculate condition. The value of such a coin can jump from a few hundred to tens of thousands, depending on its rarity and quality, there are stories from coin collectors who discovered these gems in old rolls, inherited collections, or even bank bags that hadn't been opened in years. One such 1983 Kennedy half-dollar, after professional authentication and grading, stunned everyone. Its condition was nearly flawless, and a rare striking error made it one of the most unique examples from that year ever discovered. Collectors recognized its rarity instantly, and when it hit the auction block, it created waves throughout the numismatic world. So how much was it worth? This remarkable 1983 Kennedy half-dollar, with its exceptional attributes and undeniable rarity, was ultimately valued at an astonishing $105,000. Yes, you heard that right. $105,000. For a 50-cent coin. It's an incredible reminder that sometimes, true value hides in plain sight. That coin you tossed in a drawer, that half-dollar you kept without a second thought, it could be holding history, rarity, and a five-figure surprise. And with 1983 being a year of reduced availability and increased demand, every Kennedy half-dollar from that year deserves a second look. So, if you have a coin collection, or even just a few old coins sitting around, take a closer look at your Kennedy half-dollars. Find the ones from 1983. Examine them carefully. Look for unusual details, mint errors, and above all, check their condition. Because you never know when a coin you thought was just a keepsake might turn out to be worth $105,000. And that is a discovery worth flipping for. Top 4. Have you ever stopped to think that a simple, shiny coin sitting quietly in a drawer could be worth more than a luxury car? What if that 50-cent piece you glanced at once and forgot about was hiding a small fortune? Welcome to the fascinating world of rare American coins, where stories of hidden treasures and unexpected riches are more real than you can imagine. And today, we're about to unlock one of those stories, the incredible tale of the United States of America Kennedy half-dollar from the year 1988. A coin that may seem ordinary at first glance but has left collectors in awe for what it holds in value and mystery. The Kennedy half-dollar has always held a special place in American hearts. First issued in 1964 following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the coin became more than just currency, it became a national symbol of honor, memory, and hope. With JFK's bold profile on the obverse and the majestic presidential seal on the reverse, the design reflects strength, dignity, and unity. Since its debut, the Kennedy half-dollar has been struck every year, but not all years are created equal. Some dates hide secrets. Some mintings carry surprises. And one such year, often overlooked, is 1988. Now let's step back into that time. The year 1988 was a dynamic period in American history. Ronald Reagan was finishing his second term as president, the Cold War was beginning to thaw, and the world was on the brink of a technological and cultural transformation. While most Americans were focused on politics, entertainment, and innovation, the U.S. Mint quietly continued producing the Kennedy half-dollar. Millions were struck that year, many of which were used in casinos, vending machines, or simply collected as pocket change. But in that massive sea of coins, a few stood out. A few were different. And one, in particular, became legendary. You see, most Kennedy half-dollars from 1988 were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, marked by either a P or a D mint mark. They were made of the standard copper-nickel clad composition. But once in a while, rare errors occur, unexpected mistakes that turn an average coin into a numismatic masterpiece. It could be a double die strike, where the image appears doubled. It could be an off-center strike, a misaligned die, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps even on a blank meant for a quarter or foreign coin. These minting mishaps are extremely rare, and when discovered, they ignite excitement among coin collectors and investors alike. Now imagine finding a 1988 Kennedy half-dollar with one of these errors, flawlessly preserved, shining with natural luster, and untouched by time. That's where things start to get interesting. When such a coin is submitted to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC, and it receives a high grade like MS 67 or higher, it becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a collectible treasure. And when you add in the rarity of the error, its value can skyrocket in ways no one expects. But it's not just about the errors. The 1988 Kennedy half dollar is also valuable in high-grade condition even without an error, because most coins from that year were heavily circulated. Finding one that's nearly flawless, preserved in original mint state condition, is incredibly rare. That's why collectors pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, for coins that look like they were struck yesterday. And then there's the story. Every rare coin has one. Maybe it was found in a forgotten roll of half dollars purchased from a bank. Maybe it was passed down through a family collection, stored in a protective case for decades. Maybe someone pulled it from change years ago, not knowing that they were holding a hidden gem. These stories are what fuel the passion of collectors, the dream that an ordinary-looking coin could lead to an extraordinary reward. That brings us to one of the most fascinating cases in recent years. A 1988 Kennedy half dollar, featuring an extremely rare minting error and certified in near-perfect condition, stunned experts and bidders alike when it appeared in a private auction. Its flawless surfaces, sharply defined features, and rare planchet anomaly made it one of the most remarkable coins of its kind. Collectors immediately recognized the uniqueness of the piece, and what followed was an intense bidding war that ended with a result no one saw coming. That single 1988 Kennedy half dollar was ultimately valued at an incredible $75,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, 75,000 US dollars. For a coin that many people would have passed off as ordinary. A coin that could have slipped through your fingers without a second thought. It's proof that the world of coins is full of surprises. That sometimes, history, rarity, and perfection align in the most unexpected of places. So if you have a Kennedy half dollar from 1988, or any coin from your childhood, from a grandparent, or sitting in a jar somewhere, don't underestimate it. Look closely. Examine the surfaces. Check the mint mark. Research the date. And if anything seems unique, get it checked. Because that 50-cent piece might just be your ticket to a fortune, and who knows? The next Kennedy half dollar to make headlines could be the one you've had all along, quietly waiting to be discovered, and worth $75,000. Top 5. Have you ever glanced at a coin in your hand and wondered if it could be worth more than just its face value? Could a simple 50-cent piece be worth more than your car, maybe even more than a year's salary? In the world of coin collecting, this isn't just a fantasy, it's a thrilling reality. And today, we're diving into one such remarkable coin, the United States of America Kennedy half dollar from the year 1992. A coin that might look ordinary on the outside, but in rare forms, it hides a jaw-dropping value and an incredible story that most people don't know. Let's begin by stepping back into the early 1990s. The year 1992 marked the final decade of the 20th century, a time of rapid change, technology, and transformation in the United States. Bill Clinton was on his way to becoming president, compact discs were replacing cassette tapes, and the internet was still just beginning to reach American households. But while all of this was going on, the U.S. Mint quietly continued its mission of producing coins for everyday commerce, and among them, the Kennedy half dollar. By 1992, the Kennedy half dollar had already become a staple of American coinage, beloved by collectors and admired by the public since its introduction in 1964. Struck in honor of President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination, the coin served as a constant reminder of his legacy. The obverse bore his profile, bold and iconic, while the reverse featured the regal presidential seal, a proud American eagle clutching arrows and olive branches, surrounded by stars. But while millions of these coins have been minted over the years, only a few from certain years stand out as extraordinary. And the 1992 edition is one of them. What makes the 1992 Kennedy half dollar so intriguing? It's the year that the U.S. Mint reintroduced the use of 90% silver for special collector's editions. That's right, in 1992, after more than 2 decades of copper-nickel-clad composition, the Mint brought back the tradition of striking silver coins. These weren't intended for circulation. Instead, they were included in limited edition silver-proof sets sold to collectors. These coins, struck at the San Francisco Mint and marked with an S, were crafted with extreme care, featuring mirror-like fields, frosted details, and remarkable clarity. But here's where it gets really interesting. While many of these silver proofs were carefully preserved by collectors, some were mishandled, exposed to the elements, or lost. Very few remain in absolutely perfect condition. And even fewer have been found with rare minting errors, those strange and unintentional mishaps that turn a simple coin into a numismatic marvel. Imagine discovering a 1992 Kennedy half-dollar with an ultra-rare double die obverse. Or a coin struck on the wrong planchet, maybe even one meant for a quarter or a foreign denomination. Perhaps it's an off-center strike or a coin missing its clad layer. These kinds of errors are incredibly rare, but when they happen, and when the coin is preserved in flawless condition, the value soars into the stratosphere. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC carefully examine these coins, rating them on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A coin graded proof 69 or proof 70, especially one with a rare error or unique striking characteristic, can command eye-watering prices at auctions. Collectors compete fiercely for such examples, knowing they're investing not just in a coin, but in a piece of history. Over the years, collectors have uncovered some astonishing finds from 1992, coins that were thought to be lost or simply undervalued until discovered. Some were found in old estate collections, tucked away in forgotten proof sets. Others turned up at coin shows or online marketplaces, sold by owners who had no idea what they truly had. When these coins are submitted for grading and authenticated as rare silver-proof errors, their value skyrockets, and that brings us to one of the most talked about finds in recent numismatic history. A Kennedy half-dollar from 1992, struck in 90% silver, preserved in pristine condition, and exhibiting a rare and dramatic mint error, stunned both collectors and dealers when it appeared at a high-profile auction. Experts marveled at the coin's condition, its mirror-like finish, perfect edges, and bold strike. The error made it one of a kind. Bidding erupted as collectors recognized the rarity of the piece, and when the final bid was cast, the room fell silent in awe. That single 1992 Kennedy half-dollar sold for a breathtaking $55,000, yes, $55,000 for a coin that, to the untrained eye, might look like just another half-dollar. That's the thrill of the coin world. A rare date. A silver proof. A mint error. A perfect grade. All of these ingredients combine to create value beyond belief. So, here's the real question: do you have a 1992 Kennedy half-dollar tucked away in your collection? Have you ever looked closely at the coins passed down by your parents or grandparents? Or flipped through that old proof set and wondered if it could be something more? Because in the right condition, with the right features, a Kennedy half-dollar from 1992 could turn out to be a life-changing discovery. This is not just a story about money. It's a story about awareness, history, and the excitement of finding the extraordinary within the ordinary. It's proof that treasure doesn't always lie buried, it could be hiding in plain sight, sitting quietly in a small plastic case, just waiting to be found. So take a look. Examine your coins. Research their background. And if you're lucky enough to hold a flawless 1992 Kennedy half-dollar with rare characteristics, you might just be holding a piece of silver worth $55,000.